the information superhighway, an online network called Internet.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to me trying to fix my microphone at the start of this podcast.
It's the mic adjustment hour with your hosts.
I wonder what this sounds like. Oh, hey, it worked.
Hey, kinda.
Man, you know what this really tickles?
What?
My coach nerve, which happens to be the name of our podcast today.
What?
Coach nerve.
Coach. All right. Is that a name or is that a part of? Like you're really getting on my coach nerve.
I like to say it's like your nerve, your coach nerve.
Okay.
Like, oh, you know what it is?
Hmm.
You know, you know when coaches in games get like your basketball coach gets really angry at the other team, or like the ref or something.
Sure.
And they're like, "Come on!" And they're all bald because every coach is bald.
Yeah, of course.
And he's got that like nerve that pops out.
Oh yeah.
That's the coach nerve.
That's the coach nerve.
The one that's on his forehead that just like.
Is that a nerve or is that a vein?
No, it's the coach nerve.
Okay. It's the
nerve and vein mean the same thing.
You're right.
You're supposed to be the science guy, Scott.
That's a good point, though.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
We're making a podcast.
By the way, we stream these.
Yes.
Take it away, Mr. Marketing.
Oh, that's my job?
Yeah, you're
what
Mr. Marketing.
Am I promoting the stream or just...
Do everything. Do the iTunes, do the everything.
Hey, everyone. I know you're just getting into this podcast, and every podcast is someone's... I was going to say every podcast is everyone's first podcast.
Yeah, because nobody listens to this.
You're right. But each podcast could be someone's first, and I know that we probably haven't earned a review or a rating up until this point right now in this episode. But if you would be so kind as to go onto iTunes or just iTunes. I don't think SoundCloud does reviews or ratings.
You can leave a comment.
You can follow us, comment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But mostly just go to iTunes, leave us a good review or a bad review.
No, only good ones.
An honest review. How about that? Can
no,
we ask them
I
to
only
be honest?
want good ones.
We want you to fudge your review to make it as great as possible.
As terrible as possible.
As mediocre, right down the middle as possible.
We also stream these on youtube.com/chowmaster5522. I think that URL still works.
That's not the actual URL, though.
No.
Is it? No.
It's just go to theshowwithissues.com. That'll take you to my channel, which is where we stream these. We used to stream them on the Sidekick channel, but then I, like an idiot, streamed some analysis of the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer.
And Marvel shot that down.
Yeah, and for some reason
fast.
Marvel was like, no, like your channel's done. It cannot live stream anymore. Because at first I didn't freak out about it because I was like, oh, I just got to take the video down. And I did. But like we can't live stream to that channel anymore. So...
Well, we'll see. I'll talk to somebody about it.
Talk to your contacts at...
I'll talk to Mr. YouTube.
You're Mr. Marketing, though.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a circle of misters?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
And we're all bald.
And you all have a coach nerve.
Yeah, exactly. And we just scream at each other.
It just wildly exasperates.
We good?
I just broke down and started crying. I kind of wanted to commit, but it's fine. I want to talk about coffee, but I feel like it's a done subject.
Why? Why is it a done subject?
Because sometimes people make coffee overdone. Medium rare coffee.
I hate that, and I hate you.
Let's talk about coffee.
Sure.
So tell me your coffee experience.
Well, we should tell everyone the story of what we're doing right now, which is I made the adult decision to finally buy a coffee maker for my home. Previously, on
the show with issues.
Yep, I had always been going to Starbucks because it's just a short walk away from my apartment. And I figured, well, if I'm going to be going there and drinking, sweet horribly bad for my health drinks, I might as well get a quick walk in to try and counterbalance some of that. But then, with temperatures getting lower, and also just sometimes I work late at night when Starbucks isn't open, I just felt like maybe it would be more convenient if I bought my own coffee maker. So when we were at Walmart the other day, I finally committed, and I bought all the stuff necessary except for a coffee maker, which I got from your parents.
Yeah, we went into my parents' house and stole it.
And then I left it in your car.
Yes. So the other day we were streaming Mass Effect, and it got to a point where it was 6 a.m. and I didn't really want to drive Scott back because A, I was sleep deprived and that's dangerous, and B, I didn't want to.
Yep.
So he went home in a Lyft, but forgot his coffee maker in my car. So then he yelled at me.
Yep.
It was depressing.
My coach nerve was going crazy.
His coach nerve was wild.
But yeah, so the plan tonight was to go and well, I just needed coffee, but Starbucks was basically closing down.
Yeah.
So you were like, well, why don't you just bring all of your coffee stuff over to my apartment and you can make coffee here?
Hell yeah.
So instead of me like just needing that one last element of just, I just need my coffee maker at my apartment, then I can make coffee, I instead was like, let me bring all of my other coffee components to the coffee maker over at Dylan's apartment and make coffee here.
Here's the bright side. Now, see, there was a chance that you wouldn't like the coffee maker.
That's true.
So now you don't have to invite it into your home and get stuck with it. And since you're with me, if you realize like, I need something else for this coffee maker, we could just go get it at Walmart instead of you having to wait on Amazon or wait for me. So that's the silver lining that I just thought of right now.
Yeah, well, I wish you thought of it earlier because I did end up buying a ton of stuff from Amazon anyway.
Whoops. That's all right. We'll refund it.
Yeah. Well, no. I still need it.
No.
It's just I have to wait an extra day.
Oh, that's all right. Can you cancel it? It's already shipped.
But I'm still gonna. It's still coming. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
I don't need it tonight.
That's fair.
It's not anything crucially important. But yeah, so I was never a big coffee drinker growing up. In fact, my dad wasn't either. My mom's the kind of person that drinks coffee black, which is that is something that is not even comprehensible to me. How does anyone drink coffee black? It's disgusting.
See, that makes sense to me because I just don't like coffee. But I don't know. I've tried coffee many different ways. I haven't like persistently sought out every form of coffee ever.
Sure.
But I've had coffee on many occasions throughout my small life, and I haven't liked it at all, ever. So I've tried my mom's coffee. I don't really know how she takes it. Didn't really like it. I went to a drive-thru the other day on my way back from PAX and told the girl at Starbucks, I was like, hey, make me something that doesn't taste like coffee but will keep me awake.
You told me that story, but you didn't tell me you were going through a drive-thru. That, for some reason, changes the entire narrative.
Does it?
Yeah, because, like, I feel like if you walk in and say that, then they're like, yeah, okay, we can, kind of work it out. We can get a rapport going. I'll craft you, ask you some questions, but, like,
she asked me questions.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to get out of my car.
Yeah.
So I just went up and was like, hey, do you have anything that doesn't taste like coffee but will keep me awake? And she asked me a couple questions like, what do you like? What do you want to mask the taste of the coffee? And then she was like, how much do you want to spend? And I said, I don't know, $10?
Yeah.
I didn't know how much coffee costed.
Not $10.
No, because I realized that after she said, I can make you literally anything then.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, sure. And
I'll make you the most expensive drink. What did the price end up?
It was like $5.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I mean,
she gave me. I only drank like 3 sips of it because she made it, and And she was like, "Here, tell me what you think of it." And I grabbed it and took a sip and was like, "That's really good." And then drove away and was like, "Hey, that's pretty bad." Because I just don't like coffee. I saw what she was trying to do, but
What did it taste like?
dirt.
Oh, okay. Well, what were some of the other, like...
She put chocolate and milk and...
Chocolate milk?
Sure. And like 5 shots of... She just said 5 shots. I guess that's like espresso or something.
Yeah. That's weird.
Because I told her I wanted it to keep me awake. And it did, to be fair. Like, I took 3 sips and I was raring to go.
Yeah.
But it just didn't really taste that good. But I sucked it. It was also... She made it in iced coffee as well. But the problem was, and I assume this is the problem with most iced coffees, is that it's just hot coffee with ice. So it was just warm.
Well, yeah, you gotta let it sit for a bit.
Yeah, but even after letting it sit for a bit, it just tasted bad.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying earlier about how I can't drink milk unless it's freezing. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same way with iced coffee.
I can't speak for Starbucks because I don't actually know, but I get iced coffee. That's my regular. Which I want to talk about my regular at Starbucks in a bit because that's a fun story. But I get iced coffee almost every day, and I'm drinking some right now. But I feel like at Starbucks they don't put hot coffee in ice. They put just like they have like a special. They have like a specially have like.
Maybe it wasn't hot coffee, but it was definitely not. It wasn't cold.
No, it wasn't cold. Yeah. I imagine it's like a room temperature, kind of like specifically used for iced coffee because. Oh, okay. Because you don't want to have all the ice immediately melt once the hot coffee hits it. Then it's just a watery milk beverage.
Yeah,
milk in it.
That's true.
But yeah, I go into Starbucks very regularly, and I do get iced coffee. And because I go in regularly, they recognize me. Mm-hmm. A lot of their employees, if not all of their employees, and I come in and I usually just get an iced coffee with 2% sweetened, simple drink.
Sure.
Right, and in fact, my brother, who has worked many years at Starbucks, told me that I don't even have to ask for it to be sweetened because that's just how it comes.
Oh, okay.
And so I could just say iced coffee with milk, and that'll be my drink. I still say I want it sweetened, whatever. But they've come every time I walk in, they go, "Oh, there's the guy. I know what his drink is. I'm going to get him an iced coffee with 2% unsweetened."
Oh, no.
And so I go in and they're like, "Oh, you're the iced coffee?" I'm like, yeah. And they make it for me and I get it. And there's no way to tell until you take a sip. And then once I take a sip, I'm like, "Yep, unsweetened. Awesome." And so I don't want to make a fuss because I'm excited that they recognize me every time I come in. So the suggestion was, and I did do this for a while, but the suggestion was, well, just go in and ask for another drink and say that you're switching things up a little bit. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I did that. And I like threw in an additional sort of like sweetener element. So it's not just like, I want to try it sweetened this time. Instead, I'm like, I want to try it with these flavors this time. Okay. So it makes it feel like I'm more, trying to switch it up. But the problem now has become that they make my drink as they see me approaching the building. So I don't get time to tell them that I don't want whatever their gross concoction they're making for me. I don't have time to do that. I walk in. They even paid for my drink, like just gave it to me for free one day. And I was like, that's so nice, but I hate this.
You should just tell them off. Say, hey, don't give me no more goddamn coffee or I'll murder your family.
No, but I want the coffee.
No. You have to make a stand.
Yeah.
No more coffee for Scott.
Coffee. I have to stop going to that Starbucks. I have to find a new one.
Does none of them know your name? They just know.
Do.
Oh, okay. It's like, oh yeah, the iced coffee guy.
A lot of them do. One of them only knew me by the name Aquaman because I carry my Aquaman bag around with me. So they write Aquaman on my cup every time I come in, which is awesome.
That's cute.
Yeah. But
got an iced coffee per Aquaman?
Yeah. It's a ton of fun. Last time they did that, I was not paying attention. They kept shouting Aquaman, and I was like, "Why are they? Oh, that's me." Oh, okay.
That's funny.
Yeah. Do you have a usual anywhere, or
am I a usual anywhere, or do I have a usual anywhere?
Both, I guess.
yes and
because
no.
that's always been a feeling that I've wanted to have, which is like why I don't want to change up. Yeah, it's why I don't want to change up. Why I don't want to tell them to fix anything, because I hate that drink that they make for me, but also at the same time I really like being a regular.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't really visit the same places a lot nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was a kid, not to dive too deep into the childhood episode of this podcast, that's definitely going to come out at some point.
Eventually. I'm sure.
When I was a kid, my parents would take me to this seafood restaurant where they knew the owners and a bunch of their friends when they went and hung out there. There was a GameStop right next to it.
Okay.
So I would walk to the GameStop and would hang out by my lonesome Chowmaster self with the guys who worked at that GameStop. So I would develop a rapport with them. So they knew me. They knew my dad. And I would just go in there and hang out and look at the games, play the systems and stuff. This one time, I went in and there was a copy. There was a blank. You know how game stores have, if you bring in a game with just the disc with no box, they put in their like generic whatever box.
Yeah.
I saw one of those with the title Pokemon bonus disc on it. It was in the garbage. And I was like, why is this in the trash? What are you just throwing it away for some reason? And I don't really remember why it was in the trash.
Yeah.
But the guy was like, yeah, do you want it? I was like, yeah, sure. So he just gave it to me.
Nice.
And then I got home, opened it, and realized it was a really rare Pokemon bonus disc for Pokemon, I think, Coliseum, where you could play it and play like trailers, and you would get like a Jirachi for your Ruby Sapphire game.
Interesting.
So
I thought you were gonna say you came home and realized it was just the case.
No, I looked because I grabbed it out and was like, oh, cool. And then I went home and realized what it was, and I was like, oh, cool. I think I still have it, but yeah, and I downloaded the Jirachi to my copy of Pokemans, and then I ported it into the Poke Safari or whatever the term is, I forgot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Into my copy of Diamond, and then I had a level 1 Jirachi that I just leveled up by itself.
I'll pretend I understand what most of that meant.
But that's I feel like that's the only time I've been a regular at any place. We're regulars at Steak and Shake.
Oh, you're right. We are.
We're totally regulars at that Steak and Shake. There's this small old woman who works at the Steak and Shake.
She's the best.
Near Scott's apartment.
Yeah.
And every time we walk in, she's like, "Hey." Well, we don't know each other's names or anything.
No.
She kind of has poor English, so she just like knows our faces. And she comes in and we have like a small rapport with her, because we always come in at like weird times and we're the only ones there.
Yeah.
So she's like forced to know who we are.
Yeah, we'll come in at like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah, because it's the only thing that's open that we care about. I always forget that IHOP's open, by the way.
Yeah.
At those times.
I feel like when I mentioned IHOP the other day, like just a flip switched in
yeah,
your head.
that's what
like,
happened.
Oh, that's right.
That always happens to me, because IHOP seems too nice to be open 24 hours, even though IHOP's not that nice.
No.
But
IHOP
yeah.
was one of those places recently where I discovered that I liked coffee, because I never really liked coffee that much growing up. But yeah, I think I went to McDonald's a lot when I was I had a job working at Pizza Hut many years ago as the sign holder out in the street that told people about the buffet that we had going on.
Oh, great.
Have I ever told you that before?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, man.
I feel like you said that you were a sign holder, but I didn't process it.
Yes. So I got the job through a friend who was just like, hey, we just need someone to hold a sign. And I was like, I need something to do, because this was right out of high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really want to go to college yet. I kind of just want a year where I get a small job, make some money. Yeah.
People do those.
Yeah. And so I got this job. I think I only did it for about maybe 6 or 9 months, something. It wasn't a full year, but it was a full range of seasons, because I went in like, it was South Carolina, so sunny days were incredibly hot. I had a horrible tan, because I wore sunglasses as well, so it was just like the classic kind of raccoon look. I may still have a driver's permit from.
Oh, please find it.
That I look like I'm like I look like I'm Hispanic. That's how like, my tan was intense.
I want to see that.
And then there were the winter days where you know, it was just absolutely freezing, but I had to go out there and hold the sign. Sometimes in the rain, like in the freezing cold rain, I had to go. I was like, look, guys, do you really think that me going out there with the sign is going to do anything for these people?
And nobody cares.
They're like, dude, you got to go out there. So it was
I don't.
It was horrible, but there were a lot of many nice people who would stop by. And like, if it was raining, someone gave me a little poncho once, which I thought was nice. When on hot days, somebody came by with like some really like ice cold water bottles, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are the best!" Just random strangers who were like, "Hey, we see you here every day. We just want to say, you know." And I wasn't like, I'm not a crazy like sign flipper or anything. Yeah, you just most of the time I'm just holding it. And I duct taped my iPod to the back of it.
Yeah, you've told me that before.
And I watched The Walking Dead season 1. So that's all I did. It was just me with my head down for the most of it. I did not
holding
care.
A sign.
Yeah, I didn't care at all. But I tell that because I obviously couldn't drive at the time because I can't drive now. Nope. So and my the only way I could get to there, because my shift started at like 10 or 11, something like that. And the only way I could get there is by riding with my parents as they were going to work. And they would drop me off at McDonald's at like 7 a.m. And so I would have 3 to 4 hours at McDonald's every single weekday. And never once did they like... I always ordered like the same stuff. They never once learned my order, never once learned my name or anything. So I was like, this is the one chance I could have to be a regular somewhere, and they do not care.
Yeah, I probably could be a regular at some place.
Yeah.
I just don't get out of my apartment. I'm a regular at this apartment. Oh, dude, I that's funny, but like there is a girl at the leasing center who knows my apartment number.
Oh yeah?
Because every time I go in for a package, she's like, meh. I don't want to say my apartment number, but she knows it, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. And then the other two people...
Aren't you cool?
Yeah. The other two people who I see more often than her just have no idea who I am every time. And I'm like, oh, okay. So...
I deal with a lot of people. All right.
I think it's you gotta make an impression.
Yeah.
So yeah, making a good first impression.
Yes.
Is what we were talking about before this obvious edit point. I was talking about the leasing people. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I think my good first impression was that I had a very unique situation in that I didn't plan ahead like an adult. So I moved out of my apartment the same day I moved into this apartment.
Nice.
So I needed to get my keys, but like there was some weird bank issues, so I couldn't actually pay the full amount to get my keys, and they required that. And after me basically almost crying in the leasing center, being like, well, there's nothing I can do. They were like, no, just get us the money by a certain point. Here are your keys. And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you guys to let me do for the past half hour. And then they did that, and I got my keys, and we moved in, and it was fine. But pro tip for all you boys out there looking to move from one apartment to another:
have some gap, or like some like overlay.
Pay for like at least a week for you to move in. Don't move out and move in on the same day. It's cost effective.
Oh sure,
but it's stress inducing in a million different ways. But man. First impressions. Talk about.
I don't really have any stories about first impressions.
What was your first impression of me?
What was my first impression of you?
Yeah.
When I met you, or just like online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Online, I was like, aw, he's trying.
Me too. Yeah, I was trying my hardest.
Yeah.
Have I ever talked about? No, we'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
What was your first impression of me do you remember how we physically met?
I remember you walked in.
The ether?
I was at Drake's house, or Drake's apartment.
You walked in.
I was there. You were
already.
there? See, look, I already don't remember
forgot.
it.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I have no idea. It just, that whole thing kind of blended together.
No, yeah. It was when Drake was in his apartment that was close to the airport.
Yeah, because it was also the first time I met Drake in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he went and picked you up. I was just sitting in his apartment at his card table. We were setting King of Tokyo up, I think. And then you two walked in, and you waved and were like being your Scott self, and I was like, "Hey, you're real," which is a bit I used to do a lot, but I don't anymore because it's stupid.
That was great.
And then we played games.
Was Derek there?
No, that was next time.
That was next time.
We also played King of Tokyo with him.
Wait, are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure the first time I met Drake, he actually, like, he wasn't there. Like, I didn't actually get to hang out with Drake until the second time.
Oh, wait, I think you might be right.
Yeah.
No, Drake was definitely there when I met you for the first time.
He was there, but he was leaving.
But he left, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had a thing, and then you and Derek
That's the whole reason,
right.
we were there at his apartment was because he was letting us stay there.
Right.
Yeah, and you were driving us around.
This is true.
Yeah.
That was,
it was a whole bunch of meetings all at once. Because that was the first time I'd seen Derek in person, I'm pretty sure as well.
No, yeah. That makes sense. So that was for Dallas Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I met Derek in person. That was the first time I met you in person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the first time I met Eris in person at the con.
Oh, that's right. He was there. That was the first time I met. That was a full weekend of meeting people who I just knew about.
That was the second time I met Ricky in person, I think.
Yeah, same here. I met him at a VidCon once before. I roomed with him at a VidCon once before.
I met him at Retropalooza. He was wearing a Batman mask, and he told MatPat to say a thing to you.
Yep.
And then I was like, wait, I know this Batman. And then he took off his mask and was like, oh, it's Stu Dippin. Good mixtape.
I almost want to, like, talk about MatPat for a bit, but I feel like people would say that we're starting YouTube drama.
Well, this is a podcast. This is iTunes drama.
You're right.
We could talk about MatPat. What's your first impression of MatPat?
My first impression of MatPat is because I've talked to him before.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a person that I've only seen on the internet. Like, he's actually given me YouTube advice.
Yeah, you had like that meeting thing with him.
Yeah, it was like a full 2 hours of just talking about YouTube stuff, which was very helpful. Mostly it was his wife talking, though. He just kind of sat there, but
I've met both of them.
Yeah,
and she does seem like she knows more.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got. But I'm not subscribed to any of either the game theories or the film theory channels anymore.
Ooh.
No, it's mostly just because it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I was like, this was good for a bit, but no, I don't really care.
It's fine.
Yeah. But I saw one of his more current videos because I saw a clip of it on Twitter, and I was like, there's no way this can be real. and it was real. Have you seen it? It's him talking about like why he gave the Pope Undertale. It's like a follow-up to that, and it's very angry.
Oh God.
It's like him going like, if you had done your research instead of falsely accusing me of like whatever. Ooh. And I'm like, dude, no one cares. He was like, you would have saved me a lot of sleepless nights. I'm like, yeah, I highly doubt that it cost you sleep. And also, why does it bother you so much that people are like...
You gave a copy of an independent video game to the Pope.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. That is...
Wasn't even... You think the Pope has a Steam account?
No. Look,
no.
This is part of the thing that he was trying to clear up. They were all supposed to be symbolic.
Yeah, I know.
Right? He wasn't expecting the Pope to clear, which is fine. The thing that I didn't care about is my phone giving notifications. Come on, man. Sorry, the sound was on. The thing that I don't... Unprofessional. The thing that I didn't care about was in the video, he started hating on all of the other gifts that people gave to him.
What?
And I'm like, that is such a douchey thing to do.
That is very childish.
He was like, if you think my gift was bad, it was better than surfboards. And he like showed pictures of the people and like everything.
Ooh,
or like,
boy.
Here's a YouTuber who gave a book about themselves to the Pope. Which, admittedly...
That's pretty bad, though.
It's pretty bad. But like, still... they're symbolic gifts. So like whatever you thought you were giving the Pope with Undertale, like imagine what they thought.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I just felt like that was such a horrible thing to do, to angrily like call other people out about that. It's like,
Yikes.
Calm down, man.
Yeah, I've met MatPat a couple times. I have one fun story about it where basically I was editing for Trailer Comic Drake years ago. I say that like it's been 20 years.
Yeah, it was like
2 years ago. Yeah, when I was editing for him, we went to Retropalooza, and all the game theories, not all of them, just 3 of them, just the 3 boys.
Yeah.
It was Matt, Goomba, and Drake, and their significant others. Well, no, Matt's wife wasn't there, but anyway, Drake had to go to a wedding. Because he was a groomsman or something. That's not important. He had to go to a wedding, and they were doing a signing.
Hold on. Was this on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday?
I think it was a Friday.
Okay. What was the weather nice?
Yes.
Or do you remember what you were wearing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was wearing a NerdSync shirt and jeans. That was that day.
Okay, great. Spare no details from this point forward.
Okay, so the con floor so I was on the left side of the con floor was where the booth was. This doesn't make sense without context. They were doing a signing at a booth, and there was a giant line. Drake had to leave at some point before the signing started, and I didn't know anyone else really at the con. I didn't know Ricky was there.
Right.
So I just hung around and was like, hey, you guys mind if I help out? Or I asked Drake, I was like, guess I'll just stay here and help out with the signing. I'll take pictures and attempt to talk to people. So that happened for a while. I say all day. I say a while, I mean all day.
Yeah.
I can't talk today. But anyway.
It's a good thing we're only doing an audio podcast.
Yeah. So I was helping signing the whole time, and basically the punchline of this story is that Matt thought I was some random creep who was just sitting behind the booth all day for 2 days.
But instead you were only some semi-random creep.
Yep. But it was funny because Drake came back the day after, and I had hung out all day with Matt, even to the point where there were still people there and the con was getting ready to like transition into a concert area.
Yeah.
So we had to move to a different spot. That's where Ricky showed up.
Nice.
And there was a fun point towards the end where the line was like 20 people left. And Matt was like, just everybody bunch up. I'll just meet you all at once, because he was getting very clearly irritable because he was done. He needed to pee. He just wanted to go home. But then we all left, and it was fine. I was talking to him about something. I don't remember what. And it came up that I was like, yeah, because I edit for Drake and everything, blah, blah, blah. That came up through passing. And I guess he didn't listen, because the next day, I went back and Drake was there. He was done with the wedding and everything.
Yeah.
And he was there, and the signing part 2 started, and I was just kind of sitting there. I was drinking a water bottle or something, and Matt turned to me after taking a picture with someone and was like, I like how you just kind of dedicated to like hang around with us. It's great. And like really passive aggressive.
Yeah, it was that sounds very passive.
And I was like, well, and then Drake cut in and was like, no, Matt, this guy's my editor. You know that, right? Yeah. And he was like, oh! And I was like, I told you that many times last night. And Drake introduced me as his editor yesterday. Well, so, I mean, I didn't blame him. He had a lot. He was meeting a lot of people that day. But, like, it's concerning to me that he actually thought that I would, because I don't want to be that guy, because there are people like that.
Oh, sure.
That will just hang around and be weird. And I didn't want to be that dude, but he thought I was that dude.
Yeah.
But have I told the story about this is a very small story about the NerdSync shirt that I was wearing?
That's how Ricky saw.
No. That was maybe I wasn't wearing a NerdSync shirt that day. I probably was. I don't know. But there was.
You liar.
No, there was a con day where I was wearing a NerdSync shirt, and I was sitting behind someone's booth, just on my phone, diddling around. And some guy came up to me, Or it was a kid who just like walked through. He did like a double take and was like, "Hey, do you work for NerdSync?" I was like, "No." And then he walked away. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I think I tweeted you about it. Little did I know.
Yeah. That you still to this
I
day
still
would not
don't
be
work
working
for NerdSync.
No, that's funny to me. I've been to a ton of cons, not a ton. Like I feel like most people in our kind of field have been to way more than I go to, but
Probably.
but I've been to a lot for me,
Mm-hmm.
as a person who doesn't like to get out of the house that much.
Fair.
And I rarely have ever gotten recognized like here.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception being the con we went to when I first moved here. Remember that one? That
Yeah,
was
everyone
a
was-
gaming con. Or
Everyone
something
was like,
that.
"Dude, I love the podcast." Nobody watched your videos.
Was that true?
Yeah.
I don't remember that being
There were
the
like
case.
3 people who came up to you and were like, "Yeah, I really love the podcast."
That's so interesting to me that like people know.
They didn't watch the YouTube stuff.
Fair enough, but the weird part to me was that it was a gaming con.
Yeah, that too.
There's
There's overlap. Retropalooza was a gaming con as well.
sure. So like there
It
was
the same con.
like I went up to a guy who was like doing because they were selling comics there too.
Yeah.
And so I went up
There's
to a guy
always
who
a
was
couple.
selling comics, and he was like, I was like, to my typical thing, do you have any Jimmy Olsen comics?
Mhm.
Like, no, I don't have any.
Oh yeah, I remember
And
this.
then I kind of just was like, oh, all right, and I walked away, and then like maybe a
He
couple minutes
ran up
later,
to
he
you.
like ran up to me and were like, dude, are you that guy? And I was like, I guess so.
If you think I am.
Yeah, and but other than those very few things, like actual comic kind of things, I barely ever get recognized here. It was only when I went to Wizard World in Portland. It was
Mhm.
like the first time right off the bat. Like I was getting my press pass to get in, and it was somebody who was like, "Hey, I'm one of your patrons," and I was like,
Oh, cool.
"Rad." And then like I bring this up because we're talking about NerdSync shirts.
Mhm.
Like it was one of those things where as I was just walking around, like again, like at the start of the day, another person was like, "Scott, I have a shirt. Can you sign it?" And it was a NerdSync shirt, and like at that time they were
Ooh.
very new.
Yeah.
Like we had just kind of it was one of the newer designs, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't even have one of these yet. It's awesome, you know? So
That's fun.
yeah, it's a weird experience.
All I know is there's a guy who works at a Fry's who watches our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wanda.
She's chiming in.
And he gives us discounts, and I appreciate that.
That's right. He's the best.
He's like current too, because
Yeah.
we put way back when, after we streamed the first episode of this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a day after we went into Fry's, and he was like, "Yeah, I like the podcast." I was
Yeah.
like, "Wait, people watch that?" It was weird to me. Maybe he's watching right
Maybe
now.
he's watching right now. Hey,
Oh
man,
boy.
you're great.
Yeah, but what was that? What con did we go? Oh, that was the con with where we did the panel.
Mm-hmm.
It was when we did that panel. There were a group of boys who came up to us, and they had watched my videos too, and that was neat.
Oh yeah.
And we talked to them for a while, and then I like many times tried to awkwardly exit the conversation, but then they kept bringing up things I wanted to talk about.
That's right.
I was like, I want food.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we were just like, do you want to go eat somewhere? And they kind of wanted to tag along, I think. To
Yeah,
you
they
as
wanted to
well.
go to. They asked. We were like, "Do you guys want to go get some Whataburger or something?"
Mhm.
And I think I was just like, I don't know, maybe
Mhm.
maybe later. Just all right. Listen,
Let's go over some con
Look.
etiquette here.
listen.
Yeah.
I know I'm not the biggest boy in existence in terms of stuff, but I'm around big boys a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of
You
stuff.
want to phrase that any better?
No, quote that. But like I don't. It's enlightening to me because I've been around people who have millions of subscribers, and it happens. Just know your boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
know your limits. If you go up to someone and you try and like, if they invite you to lunch
Mm-hmm.
or dinner or something, sure, tag along.
Yeah.
But don't just follow them or ask if they want to go, because it just
Yeah.
puts you in an awkward spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't. It's fine. Just make sure that they're okay with it
Yeah.
if you're gonna go.
For sure.
We're not. I feel like we're being mean to those people who we talked
Mhm.
to, that day. They were super nice.
They were very
all three of them.
nice.
And they weren't overstepping bounds at all. They were just like, we're gonna go get some Whataburger if you guys want to tag along.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, nah. We went to
some sort of fancy barbecue.
It wasn't really fancy. Saltgrass. It was Saltgrass.
I don't know things.
It was a good time. There was bread. Lots of water was consumed.
You love to tell stories where the details are just not very relevant. I would say along those similar lines, right?
Etiquette.
Yes. This goes for other content creators or internet celebrities or whatever, right? I've hung around people where one of us will get recognized in the group and then a lot of other people or most of everybody else won't, even though we're all kind of in the same niche, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, hanging out with Eris, he has millions of subscribers.
Yes.
So he's gonna
millions.
He has
million.
a million plus subscribers.
Yes.
So obviously, he's gonna get more recognized. Andre as well from Black Nerd Comedy. I've hung around him a bunch, and he's way more recognizable.
Yeah.
I think he's way more recognizable than Eris, even though he has fewer subscribers.
Probably
simply because he just has that.
He's a personality,
Yeah,
and he collabs way
all
more
the time. Yeah,
because he's in LA.
He's got a ton going on.
Right.
So, I would say if you're in that scenario, and you're one of the people not being recognized, don't try to force yourself onto whoever is
who's done this.
I don't want to say
name
who's
names.
done this.
Who's done this?
I don't want to say who's done
Was
this.
it me?
It wasn't you.
Okay.
I don't think. I mean, if it was, I blocked it out.
I'll tell the story after you're done.
Okay. But it was, it's one of those things where, whoever's approaching somebody on, that they're a fan of on the internet, if they're approaching that person, they're a fan of that person.
Yeah.
They're there to see that person.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to you, and it's just taking away from everybody's time if you're just like, well, you should check out this too because I make videos as well or whatever. And it's like, they're not here for you. They're here for this person.
I have a problem, probably to a fault, where I don't think anyone wants to include me in anything.
Yeah.
So, whenever somebody will, and there's always a part of me that's like, oh, if they know NerdSync, they probably know who I am.
Yeah.
There's a good chance, but surprisingly, that makes me sound like a douche. But
surprisingly, no one knows me.
But it's happened. It just doesn't happen as much as you would think, because from my perspective, every one of my fans knows who you are.
Yeah.
So I can't dissociate that. But
I gotcha. Yeah.
But anyway, there are many times where I'm hanging around with YouTubers, and they're like, "Yeah, let's all take a picture together," and I slide out of the picture because I'm like, "Oh, they don't want me in it. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just kind of here hanging out." Yeah. And they're like, "Dylan, what are you doing? Get in the picture." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm here." That happened at least 5 times over the PAX trip that I took a couple weeks ago, where I was like, Benny at one point was like, everybody who's on the Comic Storian team or the Weekly Pull team, get in here. And I was like, oh, okay. And I stepped aside. And Benny was like, what are you doing? Get in the picture. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just hung out and looked weird in every picture ever.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Definitely. Yeah, I know hanging around Eris at cons is fun because there's a lot of times where people will hand me their camera and be like, can you take a picture of us? And I'll be like, this is where I stand.
Yep.
This is my zone. But it's also fun when the opposite happens, which obviously it's more rare, but it's fun for people to know who I am. And this sounds very I'm being vain or conceited or all, but it is fun to be recognized. And it's more
definitely.
fun. It's a lot of fun, I should say.
Being famous is great.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun when you're around someone who is more famous than you, and other people are like, oh, hey, I know you. Who are you again? To the bigger person, they're like, I don't know who.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, I've got a fan.
It's also the opposite is just that's, I think that's one of the reasons. Okay, so let's get real here for a second.
Oh no.
There's part of me that just loves being around YouTubers and seeing people get recognized because it warms my heart, especially when a 12-year-old girl runs up to Benny and is like, "Oh, you're great. I watch your videos." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is great."
It's so cute.
But there's another part of me that's like, I want to be Benny.
Yeah.
But both parts depends on the day, but both parts are present of me at all times, at all times, and that's why I'm still trying to work on my channel, and I'm not complacent with just being the person who edits for literally everyone.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I have fantasies of hosting my own panel someday. Yeah. Oh, that was another thing on the panel that we did. Mm-hmm. I was very confused. I was like, I should not have a mic. This is not something I'm not on this panel, because I was just like, that's why the panel like awkwardly started with everyone introducing themselves, and I was like, I'm just running the laptop. Don't worry about me. That was me genuinely saying that. Oh, wow. Because I didn't think that I mattered on that panel, because I wasn't like part of it. I was just running the laptop.
You were part of it. You came to hang out with Eris and I as we were researching and
sure, but that's just because you needed a ride.
You were part of it anyway.
And we had decided that I was gonna run the stuff there anyway, right. So
doesn't mean you shouldn't have a mic though.
I didn't think I needed a mic. I was just the lowly. I was the PA. I'm subjected to be the silent PA for the rest of my life.
I will say this is along the similar lines of the stories we've been telling. I've told this story before on the Nerd Sync podcast, but hey, maybe these people don't know what that is. And
that'd be weird to me.
Yeah, or just haven't listened to that episode.
Okay, that's
more
fair.
Realistic. But I went to VidCon. I think it was this year actually, or last year rather. And I met Michael from Vsauce, who was a very sweet man.
Nice.
So like
he seems great.
Yeah, just to briefly tell our encounter, Bryce and I were walking and we saw him, and he was talking to Emily Grassi, who is another big person.
Degrassi?
Sure. Is that
Degrassi High?
Yep, that's the one. And they were chatting and having like, what seemed to be a pretty serious conversation. And Bryce and I approached, but we were just like, oh, this is awkward. I don't want to split them up. So we'll just kind of we're not like standing and staring, but we're like off to the side, far away. Like we're not just like hovering.
You're in their general area.
We're in their general area. He kind of saw that we were approaching him. But then also in the meantime we were talking to this other guy, so it's not like we were just like staring and waiting. Oh, okay. Right? And this other guy who was conveniently named Scott, I'm not just saying that to say like label me as this person of this story. And we were like talking and doing our own thing, and then eventually Michael came up to us, approached us, and was just like, hey, I saw you guys wanted to say hi. And I was like, oh, that's so nice of you. Yes, I just wanted to big fan of your work, whatever. And other Scott was like, who are you? And he's like, I run a channel called Vsauce, and he's like, what's that about? And it's like it was
what's that?
Because like, how do you describe what Vsauce is, right? Yeah. So he was like trying to be like,
I don't know.
We just like ask questions and explore facets of the world, and I was just kind of like, how do you not know what Vsauce is?
That's like a touchy thing though sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're in a place. Because clearly you can't expect everybody to know who you are.
Yeah.
But as long as you're, like, respectful about it. Because you... I imagine the other Scott was, like, respectful about it. And was just like, I don't know, what do you do?
He was genuinely curious about, like... Because he saw how much Bryce and I were talking, like, invested in him. He was like, this guy must be important. What is it that you do? Who are you? Yeah. That sort of thing. Like, he was just real curious about it.
There's the opposite side of the spectrum where someone's like, yeah, who are you?
Yeah, oh, no.
You think you... Fuck you coming in here.
That was definitely not his reaction.
No, but just don't do that.
But it was just really interesting to me to be like, oh, even he gets it sometimes.
Yeah.
That's
fun. What was I gonna say? Well, it's gone. It's lost to the ether. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think people ever come up to Michael from Vsauce and go, "Hey, Michael, Vsauce here"?
I would love that so much.
That'd be the best thing in the world.
Oh. If they don't, they will now.
I want to know, because everybody go berate Michael from Vsauce on Twitter to see if anybody's ever done that.
Yeah, ask him that.
I want to do that if I ever meet him. But if he gets it a lot, I don't want to be that guy who does it again. But because I feel like it's too obvious for people not to do.
Well, I've heard that there are some celebrities that are just really cool about like fans addressing them in some sort of way. Like I this was many years ago, so this could have changed. But Nathan Fillion once said that he would love if all of his fans just like saw him in passing and just saluted him and went, Captain, and he was like, at ease, and that's it, and like that would be the whole interaction. And I would love for something like that to be similar, between like Vsauce or even just other people, you know.
I think to close this whole conversation about cons and etiquette and stuff down, the best thing you can possibly do to anyone who you admire is go up to them, say, hey, I really like what you do. You shake their hand, get a picture, whatever you want, and then leave.
But here's the problem with that, is I feel like when you do that, you're almost maybe using them. It feels like you're using them because, like,
Well, no, okay. Let me clarify.
Okay.
Do that if they're like going somewhere. Yeah. If you see them in the public and they're like on their way to Starbucks or like passing through a con on their way to something, just don't like what's the word I'm looking for? Don't overstay your welcome.
Okay. Yeah. I think for me, something that I've started doing is just not taking pictures with anybody because I never do. Because I feel like that's just me trying to like use them for something to make people think of like, look how great my day's been. I met this guy or whatever.
I can see that.
When in reality, I could just like talk to them for a brief second and be like, hey, I'm a big fan of what you do. Yeah. Maybe shake their hand or whatever, and then like we just part ways.
I'm 1000% the same way.
Yeah, and I think like I remember at the first VidCon I went to, Mark Ruffalo was there.
Yeah.
And then I had the most awkward interaction with him because my mentality was exactly what you were saying. I just want to say hi. I want to say I want to get a picture and I just want to get out of there because I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was it just felt like all I was doing was using him to take a picture real fast to be like, hi, big fan, picture, out of there. And I felt like he, being the sweetheart that he is, was like genuinely being like, hey, I'm Mark. Like he like, you know, introducing himself.
I love when people do that.
As if I don't know. And then
that's like my favorite
I don't even
interaction.
think I told him my name. I mean, this is a simple practical tip for anyone who wants to meet any kind of celebrity.
Tell them your name.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Because they are at an incredible disadvantage that you know who they are, but they don't even know your name.
It's also just a great way to start any conversation.
Yeah.
By just introducing yourself.
With a stranger, right? Not like your friends you go up and like,
hi, I'm Dylan.
I'm Dylan. But yeah, I feel like because that's something I learned going forward with also at VidCon, because VidCon was the first place I ever started meeting people that I admired and looked up to.
Yeah.
And so from that point forward, I was my first instinct was to be like, you know, tell them who I am. Not like I make this YouTube video and
I'm Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a big fan of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good stuff. I would also say, it's important to tell them that you're a fan and not just like some random person. Because I mean, obviously they can put two and two together.
They can figure it out, but like if you say something like "I like what you do" or "This thing I really love this thing that you were in" or something like that.
I just want to say I keep talking about VidCon a lot, but the VidCon last year we hung out with the Super Carlin Bros a lot because DK is super tight with them. I was never once introduced to the Super Carlin Bros the entire weekend. I was waiting for Derek to be like, and here's Scott.
Yeah.
And I would be like, hey, how's it going?
That's more Derek's fault.
So, for the entire weekend of VidCon, I hardly said a word to them because I was just like, they don't know who I am. I'm just like the side guy. I'll talk to the Boss Level 8 guys. I'll talk to DK. I'll talk to Ryder. All these other people. They're fine. I know them. I've hung out with them before, but I've never been introduced to these people who I'm spending so much time with, and so I don't know what to say. And so by the end of when they were leaving, they came up. Because they were just saying goodbye to everybody, and they got to me, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Scott." And them leaving.
Whoops.
And they were like, but they thought it was real funny. Though,
yeah,
so,
that's good.
Yeah.
I can imagine that playing out in my head. That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
We have overstayed our welcome on this podcast.
You think so? Do you think it's getting on people's coach nerve?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They're probably. Like, stop talking about con etiquette. You're not even famous. You have like 2 subscribers. You don't know anything about being famous. PewDiePie's listening to this podcast right now.
He sure
He's
is.
Like,
he listens to all of the podcasts.
He's shaking his head. He's up there in his Swede. Is he still? Where is he now?
I don't know, in a room
not
somewhere.
Important. That's it.
Are we closing the book on this
That's
one?
it. Do we Twitter?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like,
you can find the online podcast. Did we introduce it as the online podcast or ourselves at all in this episode?
Nope. I'm Scott.
I'm Dylan. Nope. Reverse that.
Yeah, I'm Dylan. He's Scott.
Yep.
This is the online podcast. Go to twitter.com/anonlinepodcast. Or if you want to follow Scott, go to twitter.com/ScottNicewander. Or if you want to follow Dylan, go to twitter.com/OrumAlexander.
I almost thought you were going to say go to Dylan.com.
No, but use the coupon code PP at checkout to get 5% off your life expectancy.
Yep.
That's it.
For any of our viewers who have access to internet, we invite your comments.